Welcome to the LivOverjoyed Show, designed to help you navigate your life and business to take positive action to live your dreams. This series focuses on how to leave your unsatisfying job to pursue your passions. Today, we have Chad E. Cooper, legendary lifestyles coach. He has pushed the bar to be the very best in his life, from being an awarded Marine to retiring from Microsoft at age 35. Now he shares principles he's discovered to help others to shatter the status quo and live the life they were born to live. He's coached athletes and celebrities and has 2 charitable foundations, just to name a few of his things that he does. Welcome, Chad.
Thank you. My name's Phil. You pulled me in off the street and said you needed some space so I guess I'll be Chad. That guy sounds pretty awesome. So, okay. That's
well,
cool.
Thanks, Phil, for filling in.
Awesome. Glad to be here. Let's help people figure out in this time of change. And I think that's really kind of the first thing, Amy, is recognizing change has already happened. Whether we want to grow with that change, growth is optional. And so I think that whether you have a stable job, whether you enjoy what you're doing, the reality, or you're in survival and trying to figure it out, is we all need to learn how to grow. Okay, we're in a world of pretty much black and white, yes and no, either or. And now we've kind of moved into really making the 60s age of Aquarius look like a tip of a needle. Okay, what we're moving into is kind of the gray, the playing area of how do I say yes and how do I actually combine and integrate both. And so we've really kind of been put in a position, whether we've asked for it or not. I think that people have been begging. It just didn't kind of look like it was going to come in this gift wrapping of I need to change. And so it becomes a question of, do you want to change intelligently or do you want to change by force?
And you push people to change intelligently to make that decision themselves. So what are the steps so that they can take to do that?
So let me start with really kind of 3 different places that typically people go to look for help. And the first is in psychology. Second would be in consultant, and then the third is coaching. And consulting is you're paying somebody to give you advice. They have experience, they have research, whatever, and they're telling you, here's what we recommend. Psychology is a great place if you're in a place where you're trying to make peace, make amends with something that's happened in the past. I'm the way I am because mom and dad fill in the blank, right? Or brother and sister, whatever that tragedy was. We don't want to compare that tragedy to other people's tragedy, because for each of us, that was a 10 out of 10, whatever we've experienced. Okay. But if you're struggling to make peace and it's still an excuse for your present behavior, right? I'm making poor life decisions because my parents were alcoholics. That's not, that's the past. And if you're still using that as an excuse rather than an explanation, psychology is a great place to get that help. Coaching, on the other hand, is neither a consultant or psychology. And coaching comes in and says, I am seeing life, and where I'm at is an explanation. These things happen, and it's an explanation of I don't want it to happen again, or I'm using that as to empower how to help myself or how to help other people to never have it happen again. And we can use those as learning lessons, and we say that's an explanation to make better choices. So coaching comes in, and we don't give advice, okay? At least a master coach is not going to give advice. What they are going to do is they're going to ask empowering questions to bring the answers from within. So as a coach, we believe you already have the answers, Amy. Our job is to ask the right questions to bring those to the surface so you can make a decision and then take action. And that's really where we're at as a global society in large, is people are at a point where everybody's focused on probably some common things going on right now. They are giving meaning to what that is. It's terrible. It's going to open the doors to innovation, whatever that meaning is, and there's an abundant amounts of meaning. Then that creates an emotion. Oh, this feels good. Oh, this is scary. Oh, this is empowering, whatever. What we want to do is help them navigate that so that they can come to a place of making a decision and take action. So indecision is a decision, but where people really struggle is the emotions, and how do they manage those icky emotions and still take action consistently.
Makes sense. Yeah, I can see that a lot of people hold on to their past and, like you said, use that as an excuse. What are some tools to help them move past that?
I think that the first part is really setting that stage of are you in a situation right now where you're struggling or you're at where you're at because it's an excuse, or have you actually taken responsibility? I don't care how terrible that was, and I'm not saying that there was anything that said that that was okay. Whatever happened was completely, just unjustified, terrible thing. We're not going into those areas. But the question is first, are you using it as an excuse or an explanation? And if you're still using it as an excuse, you need to go deal with that so that you can make changes that last and you're not sabotaging down the road. The second thing that I often see is that when we decide we're ready for change, Amy, when we say, okay, I want to do things different, or life is so crappy, something's got to get better. That's simply saying, I'm no longer going to live in the effect. I'm actually going to generate, or I'm going to move into cause. I'm going to actually grab the reins, or I'm going to grab the helm at the ship, and I'm going to direct my future. And when we do that, often that is New Year's resolutions, something that's happened that we go, this year I'm going to lose X amount of pounds. And that's discipline, typically. And discipline doesn't last. As Zig Ziglar said, is baiting and motivation don't last. That's why we recommend both daily. And so what we really want to do, the second thing, is really get crystal clear on the strength of the purpose itself. Al Granum said, it's not your strength that holds you to your purpose. It's the strength of the purpose itself. And this is probably the number one thing that I see when people fall short, when people give up on their goals, when things get difficult, right? That's when they give up because they've been using discipline instead of actually the right lever, that is, what's the strength of the purpose itself. And I learned that when I was in the Marine Corps, when I realized in the moment that my body started getting tired or something became painful, the brain went, ouch, this hurts, you should stop. But we're actually capable of at least 20 times more than when that moment says you should stop. And so we need to have a really powerful strength of the purpose in order to stay the course, in order to get to the goal line. And often that's what I see is a big piece that's missing, right? Well, I want more money. Who doesn't? I don't care if you want to give the money away to a foundation. Everybody wants more money,
Right.
but money is just a symbol of something deeper. Maybe it's providing safety or security. Maybe it's about taking care of your family. Maybe it's about buying a big fancy new house or car. Whatever it is, we want to get down to the emotions. And so when we talk about have clarity in your purpose, the problem that I see, Amy, and I know I'm rambling on here, so bear with me, but I'm actually changing because what people go, oh yeah, that's great advice. So what? Now what do I do? Well, what I want to actually do is get rid of the misnomer of what our purpose is. Because how many of us have been told our purpose is our job title or career attainment, how much money we have in the bank, what house or neighborhood we live in, what kind of badge is on the vehicle? It's none of that. I argue that it's not any of that. In fact, what our purpose really is how we want to feel on a day-to-day basis. Our purpose is actually a set of emotions that we want to repeat continuously. My purpose is to love, is to have joy, is to have gratitude, to be able to be a steward or a servant for other people. So I know what my core values are, and if I know what those emotions are, then the world opens to me on all kinds of ways that I can actually meet those values or have them met. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
But people don't want to do the work for that typically. So you typically need somebody to help you get there.
So you're suggesting possibly reaching out to a coach or reaching out to someone else for help?
I look at it, it's kind of similar between left and right brain, even though apparently this is right. And oh, I did do it right. Okay, look at that. Even a Marine can figure that out. What I find is that we have the logic and the emotional. And in reality, what I find is that we have the engineer and the artist brains, right, in our heads. And we think that we need to outsmart that process, or we have to sit down and be able to work through, the formula to do that. The problem is emotions are not logical typically.
Right.
Emotions are about the feminine, about the flow, right? Emotions are about the yin in life. And when we go through the process of, oh, let me go through this exercise and figure out my purpose, what we're actually doing is hijacking that flow of, being in a flow. And we're actually like, nope, let's actually break this into a frame. Don't color outside the lines. Well, how many of us were raised in preschool, kindergarten, whatever, to color? And what happens when you colored outside the lines, Amy?
You may have gotten guided back
Yeah,
or
you got punished or corrected,
right.
right? That's not right. But that's saying that's the logic. And so when we want to discover our purpose, if we're trying to discover that on our own, we're using our brain, which takes us and hijacks us from our flow.
Right.
So yes, we want to have somebody facilitate to assist us so that we stay in our natural, artistic, emotional state to be able to actually magnify and capture all the richness that's in there. When
Yep.
we try to do it on ourselves, we hijack it and we come up short.
Right. I have a coach that says, your head is a scary place to be.
Oh
So,
man, if people actually saw inside of my head, they'd have committed me a long time ago, for sure. Yeah. So I think that's the second piece that we want to do. And then the third in the reality is then we need to understand that we are given a head, a heart, and hands for a reason. And so we want to be able to make sure that we use all of those in the right proportion. We want to use them in the right timing, right? So it needs to be in the right environment, the right context, and then for the right amount of time. So if I'm sitting in a funeral, I'm probably going to come from the heart more than I'd be like, how many people have ever gone to a funeral and they're like, he's better, he's in a better place. Oh, gee, thanks. That really helps. No, it's never helpful, right? So when we come from the heart, the thing that we're afraid to say is, I'm just not really, I don't know what to say. Somebody can understand that because they see you coming from the heart versus the head is like, what's the smart thing to say?
right.
Probably the stupid thing that you're going to say, typically, right? Unless you understand how to do that. But the same thing happens when we understand, okay, I'm in a place where I'm taking responsibility for my future. I'm in cause. Second is I've discovered and I know what my purpose is. Third then is, how do I put these digits to use? So I'm combining the two of these to tell my hands or what action I need to intelligently take. And so this is about being able to recognize or acknowledge, yes, knowledge is only powerful if I can apply that knowledge. Knowledge for the sake of knowledge is useless. I have to be able to apply that, which means I have to be able to say, what action do I need to take to actually make it real? And so that's at the end of the day what it takes. I can sit here and say all day, oh, I want to lose weight. Until I take action, it really isn't going to be lasting. Now
Right.
I can deplete calories and get there, but the moment I start eating calories, I'm actually going to just yo-yo, and it's
Right.
a problem. So we need to have persistence and consistency in the action that we take. So we could say, oh, you know what, Amy, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to take action, and one day out of 30, I'm going to go and work out for 6 hours straight. Well, A, it's not going to be effective, and B, you're not moving for probably 4 or 5 days because it's a really bad strategy, right? So good intention, poor judgment. And so we want to just actually, the people that I see make progress is about small, consistent, and persistent incremental action. When we're both persistent and consistent and we apply that knowledge, that's what actually produces results. And so it's kind of like it's slow, 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 does this, and then boom, suddenly we see the results. But if we don't have the strength and the purpose, we'll never get to this piece. We'll be like, oh, this isn't going fast enough, and forget it. I'm done.
Right. You kind of need that carrot to form the proper habits.
Yeah, sometimes we need the carrot, sometimes we need the boot. So maybe it's a little bit of both, right? I mean, we can be stubborn as in the human condition as well.
Yeah. You had mentioned overcoming some of those fears too, to get out of that out of the lines of coloring and out of the box of, the cubicle or the corporate office? What are
Yep.
some tips to get comfortable with living in that fear of taking that step?
I think you hit the nail on the head. Is actually what you want to do is get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Right.
We have got a society. I mean, part of what's going on that we see is that we have raised a society of people who have not built the muscle of learning how to live in discomfort. Comfort's a great place to go visit, to go on vacation, but you don't want to live there because you're not building the muscle, right? The victory is at the top of the summit, but the work that gets there is a lot longer, but that's where you build the muscle. You don't build the muscle at the summit. You build it on the way up. And so part of what we need to then do is be able to recognize, okay, I have clarity what I want to do. I have clarity on what the purpose is that's going to fulfill it. I know I need to take action. It needs to be persistent and consistent. Now, what are the other pieces that need to go into that? Well, I think that one of those that need to go into it is getting resourceful. So many times if you watch football, I don't care whether you call it football or soccer or any of them, every sport pretty much has a playbook, right? They have a book. So we'll just use football as an easy analogy, is they can sit here and go, okay, this play, okay, call this audible, whatever that they want. Why? Because if you keep making the same play, the defense is going to be like, gee, I wonder what they're going to run. And you're just going to hit wall after wall.
Right.
And when we set our goals, Amy, often what happens is that we go, oh, here's my plan, right? Here's my plan to get to victory. But the moment we hit a roadblock, what do? Oh, never mind, I give up. So we need to sit down and get really resourceful. The leaders, the entrepreneurs, the people who succeed, whether it's a janitor or a CEO, the people that are most successful and the most happy are actually the most resourceful. And so when you go, oh, I hit here, let me juke and go here. Oh, I hit here, let me go over here. And so they know how to juke and jive. If we look at sailing as an example, a sailboat, its motor, its engine is the ability to harness the resistance of the wind. So often we think of, oh, in order to do this, I don't want to have any pain. Well, you know what, Amy? It's my belief pain is one of the fundamental ingredients. Suffering is optional. Don't bring that into the boat. But you have to learn how to harness that resistance in order to be able to use it as part of your fuel. But a sailboat doesn't go in a straight line. A horse doesn't go in a straight line. Football doesn't go in a straight line. It zigzags, it tacks in order to get to its destination. And we need to do the same thing. If we want to make changes, we have to get resourceful to be able to juke and jive when we hit roadblocks, when we hit delays, when we hit financial setbacks, whatever that is. And then lastly, in that the second part of that is we also need to ask, and Napoleon Hill, ancient author that is before any of our time, but a book that is transcended over the time. You look at any CEO's desk, and just about any of them are going to have a book called Think and Grow Rich. And he actually has a formula in there called the 6 steps of effective decision making. It's a great, powerful formula that has withstood the test of time. But the thing that I see, the number one thing I see missing in it, Amy, is the very last question. And he asks, what are you willing to give in exchange for the objective or the goal that you want to achieve? And we forget to ask, what am I willing to give? That's the way that the universe works. There's no such thing as a free lunch. And if we don't define what we're willing to give and what we're not willing to give, the universe is going to set that price tag for us. And it's usually way higher than what we ever imagined it would be.
Right.
So it's important that we say, you know what, if I want to get fit, I'm willing to spend the money for a gym, or I'm willing to ask my friend to go for runs. I'm willing to take some time and go do this X number of days a week. We have to define what are we willing to give in exchange. That's how life is.
Mm-hmm. And I think accountability is really important in these situations as well. I noticed in your book, you mentioned you tell people what your goal is so that it's announced and you're held more accountable.
Yeah, for me, I have 2 foundations that are global foundations. And if I said, you know, if I really want to serve people, then I need to make this visual. I need to be able to put it out in the line. And I need to say, if these are the values I represent, then what am I willing to do to actually back it? Well, I'm willing to make it public, and by creating the foundation kind of creates that lever to say, okay, chump, go do it. So if I say I want to be kind, then I need to put myself in positions that allow that. I always laugh when people are like, God, give me patience. I'm like, you're an idiot. Why would you ever ask for patience? Because God's not going to go, oh, Amy, I bestow on you infinite patience. God's going to go, okay, I'm going to put you in a chaotic, crappy situation, and you get to demonstrate patience. He doesn't take away the environment to put you into patience. What God does and the universe does is put you into the environment to practice that quality. So that's why when people ask for patience, I'm like, good luck with that.
So, any other closing thoughts on this?
I think that the reality is in the last, and we were talking about this before we went on with this, is lighten up. Life can be difficult. Pain can be hard, but pain can also be really satisfying. When you're serving your purpose and it's difficult, yeah, you might lay your head on the bed exhausted, but you're going to have a big smile at the same time. And we've created this misnomer of pain is difficult or is miserable, and it doesn't have to be that way. I can go work hard and bring a group of people with me, and we can have a hell of a good time. We can laugh, we can have fun, we can just be silly. So when we're doing it, I think we have enough seriousness in this world. Lighten up, make fun of yourself, be a little self-deprecating, and just be silly. I just had my son, he's finally old enough now. He's what coming up, he's 16, coming up on 17, and I just introduced him to Monty Python's The Search for the Holy Grail.
Nice.
It is, as half Canadian, my mother being Canadian, I was raised that we had to watch British humor, which I think is the best stuff in the world. It's hilarious, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, Dad, this is so stupid, yet I can't turn away. I said, that's the
Exactly.
genius of it. That's what's awesome about it, right?
Right.
It is, add some of that into your life. It makes the journey so much more appealing. It makes it so much juicier. Everybody's focused on the goal, Amy, of when I get there. And I'm like, yeah, great, celebrate that. But don't you want to enjoy the journey? Is a heck of a lot longer. It's great to cross the finish line on a marathon, but wouldn't you like to enjoy that 40K? Wouldn't you like to enjoy that 26.2 miles along the way? Or do you want to just be miserable? You have a choice.
Well, and because you've done a few Ironmans, right?
Yeah, I did that for a long time until I destroyed myself. So
Oh,
yeah,
man.
but you know what? I enjoyed the process. I had fun with it as well. So
Mhm.
I have no regrets. It was awesome. And it's a great accomplishment to be able to put that notch on the belt.
Yeah. And I'm sure the training has taught you a lot as well.
It has. That's where I look at in starting back at the beginning is we're capable of 20 times more than what we think we are. And you're only going to achieve that if you're willing to get clear on your purpose and willing to lean into pain. Pain
Yeah.
is kind of like the sugar in a cookie. Doesn't quite taste as good. Or I'm sorry, pain is like the salt in a cookie. Everybody loves the sugar, but the salt is a required ingredient as well. It doesn't taste the same without it.
Yep. Well, you're offering a gift to the participants of this show.
I am. I actually sat back and looked. And again, if we want to demonstrate, we want change to happen, we say that we want to be certain qualities and we know what our core values are, then in one of mine is service, then what are we willing to do to actually act in that behavior? So I went, you know what? Government's giving away $10,000 check. I'm going to be able to give the equivalent. Typically, my program, Create Your Legendary Lifestyles, is $10,000 to get in. So it's not for everybody. And I decided, you know what? Everybody needs access because it's about basic life skills, crap that you weren't taught in school, stuff that your parents didn't teach you, basic life skills like fiscal responsibility, how to discover your purpose, language matters, being able to know how to set goals, how to be a master of time versus a slave to it. So in that program, I teach people the things that they should have been taught growing up. And I'm shocked because I specialize with professional athletes and people transitioning careers. And they're like, Where was this when I needed it 20, 30, 40, 60 years ago kind of thing? So I decided, you know what, Amy, I'm going to give it away for free. So just go to chadecooper.com/dominate. So go to /dominate and you can enroll for free. Now, I want to give one caveat to that, Amy, okay?
Okay.
If you're going to come in, you better come in both feet. Don't come in 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I'm going to test the
No
waters.
toe dipping.
No, there's no toe dipping. You're either fully committed, full immersion, burn the boats, burn the bridges, or don't come in at all. Because we are a family that holds each other accountable, that will cheer you with the little things and the big things. It's a no judgment zone, but we hold each other accountable. So if you're slacking, you either step up, or we say, thank you, there's the door.
Well, that's an awesome gift. So thank you.
My pleasure. I hope to be able to serve more people and help change things for the better. And by everybody bettering themselves, then I get to experience. Maybe it's a little bit more pleasant when I go to the grocery store or the airport. Like if people are happy, it comes back and affects me. So people are miserable and pissed. Well, we see what's going on with that right now as well.
So your website's the best place to reach you?
My website is chadecooper.com/dominate if you want to get the program, but you can go on there and you can see all the other things about the world of Chad. So most of it, the inside voices I don't let people into because they can't handle what's in there. I can barely handle it most days.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you, Amy.
All right. See ya.